As a cinematographer of many, many years, looking back in hindsight, it took me a little while to realize the importance of lighting shape and control and the placement of your lighting. But once I caught on to that and realized the importance that it separates between being an amateur and a professional DP, it started to become this really fun challenge. So there are a million different ways that I have learned, and I'm still learning, to shape and control your light. But one thing that I've always run into is your lighting placement. There always seems to be a stand in the frame when you want to get the light exactly where you want. So consider this video one tip, trick, or hack, or the one thing that you need to know to be able to place your light and control your light to get it exactly where you want when in a difficult situation. And that's using a spotlight or a Leko. And I use those because it really helps you control your exact spill of light. So we're gonna walk through step by step a couple of different scenes and variations in this video of how I do this. And by the way, my name is Brady. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I am a cinematographer, and here we are teaching some lighting tips. So just to spice it up a little with me and my two lights and just doing this myself for you guys, I want a little bit of fake moonlight coming through, but I'm gonna put this infinity bar just through these glass windows things, maybe just for a little bit of tone, like there's some moon coming through, you know? Nice. Here's that little moonlight that I was telling you about. Just like little patches right here as I walk through. It's totally aside from the point. Doesn't help get the point across, but just figured I'd tell you that's a little infinity bar with a moonlight out there. But what the issue I'd be running into in a scene like this, I've done plenty of these like this, is where I want to motivate a lot of the scene off of these tungsten bulbs, but oftentimes they're just never bright enough for the camera sensor to be able to pick up or cast a lot of natural light. So I want to augment that. So it's hard to get something right here when we've got our wide shot, our master shot. It's hard to rig something right here. It's a pain in the ass. A lot of locations you just aren't able to, but my dreams are to wish I just had like a softbox right there. So as I walk through, it feels like these tungstens are kind of casting on my lit side. So right now, I've got the spotlight that's right here. I'm gonna bring it all the way up just for right now. But the way that it's casting, that's not the location that I want it to. But we've got a big window where I want the softbox to sit right here. So that's where our scrap muzz comes into play, and that's exactly, hold on. It's exactly why I always keep scrap muzz with me, because this is, scrap muzz, this isn't like a film set type deal. I get this from the fabric store. You can just get it on a big sheet of a roll or whatever it's called. And it's just muslin material. This is unbleached muslin. And it's great because now what I'm gonna do is pretty much tape up this little soft bounce board up there, and then I'm gonna shoot our spotlight into it, and then that's gonna be the soft return that's casting on me as talent's walking through. He's a ghost. He's a ghost. Let's get back to work. So we're gonna go to my little handy dandy gaff tape, and also a trick, I know I'm going onto wood with this, so I'm not as worried about gaff tape, but if you're going onto like sheetrock or walls, don't use gaff tape. You're gonna rip the paint off when you're done, and it's just gonna be super embarrassing. There it is. All right, so now, what we're gonna do, that essentially is our big softbox that we're gonna light off of. So what I'm gonna do is, now that we've got our little softbox there, I'm gonna take our spotlight and I'm just gonna frame up the light exactly off of that softbox. One thing I wanna be mindful of is I'm gonna be walking under this beam of light, so I'm gonna have to go a little bit higher because this beam of light is pretty much gonna cut over the talent's head. So you've definitely gotta have it at a higher angle, but I'm just gonna take this guy and just frame up the entire softbox to try to get as big and as soft a source as possible. So this is a great example of the benefit of a spotlight or a Leko or something like that. Now you don't always need to be using something, but the goal of this is control, and you can see that by me moving these blades, I can really have this ultimate precision to be able to shape the exact size of the muzz on the wall, so I can get the exact size of the softbox that I want. If I'm gonna be doing this with a Fresnel, I could maybe use barn doors, or if you just have the reflector dish, you can just gaff tape it up or whatever. There's a lot of alternatives, but you see the objective is just using the blades or using your barn doors or whatever it is to be able to shape this spill of light to the exact size that you need. And that's why I'm always gonna be using something like a spotlight, because it gets me the most precise possible. So this is, again, just one example of using spotlights to be able to squeeze in soft light in a weird place. I personally, I'm not saying it's the best way to light a scene like this. It's just me here, so I'm doing this as an example for you, so don't hate me in the comments, or do, I don't care at this point. But the goal I'm trying to achieve here is just getting a nice soft source right here in a place where I typically couldn't. So this is something that I do a ton, whether it's off of just a wall or into muzz that I throw up on a wall or on a door or anything like that. This is another great example of when I'm using light to just bounce off of areas to get light in weird places, and that's mirrors, these vanity style shots. So oftentimes these practicals in a vanity probably won't be bright enough or the color or quality that you want. Again, kind of going off this practical game here, but there's nowhere to rig our lights off of. So what I'm gonna do is just once I get camera in here, I'm just gonna bring this light off and just try to make like a little, maybe like a little light bar with the spotlight, or maybe bounce it into that corner so it's a little covey and stuff like that. I'll probably dim down the camera just to make these a little bit more decorative practicals rather than playing so brightly on me, and then I'll just overpower it with the 600. So again, I gotta keep in mind that I'm gonna be standing here, so if I'm here, I'm gonna be hit with the light. So I gotta bring this light up above my head. This kind of deal. And honestly, I could put muzz up here just like I did before, but I'm lazy. And the light is a colored light, so I'm just gonna adjust it because that's like a reddish warm. I'm just gonna adjust it to cool it down. And like I'm bouncing off of muzz. How are they gonna know? They're not gonna know. This at like 4,400 Kelvin. And a little bit of green. Because I'm assuming that this wall is red and like rusty, so it's gonna shift it a lot warmer and a lot redder. So I'm just gonna cool it down and make it greener. And now I don't have to put the muzz up. So what I'm gonna shoot for is try to, I guess, have it even, but the camera's gonna be coming here. I might not wanna fill in a lot of this. So I think I might even just shift over on the wall just to be a little bit more upstage-ish, you know what I'm saying? And these things are freaking bright. There's a lot going on here. So I might just kill one on each side. Because again, I just want these to be decorative. Let's see how many things I can hit. And honestly, I'm gonna do two things here. Those aren't that hot. So I'm gonna take a little bit of muzz and I'm gonna wrap them too. So it's gonna cut down the exposure and they're gonna be nice. Let's see if that does anything. So I want it to play as a practical, but I don't want it to like, it's a hard specular quality on my face. I just don't want that. My safety precaution on this, guys, is that make sure your bulbs aren't hot, because I don't want to be responsible for any fires. So now, if I turn this off, oh yeah, they're just a very gentle glow. And now I've got a lot more control over my light source by bringing in something like that. So now let's shape this guy in. So what I'm thinking is that I feel like it's just a little bit too toppy and washed out and not controlled. So I might just try to sliver it up. And also if you don't have a spotlight, again, this is a time when I think it could be okay to just use like a Fresnel with barn doors, or you can just use like Duvetine or anything like that to flag it off. Again, the purpose is make this narrow controlled strip of light and not just have a big, if you got a reflector dish, it's gonna fill up the whole wall and it's not gonna look nice. It's gonna wash out the scene. So it's going back to lighting control. So however you can find ways to control your light is the goal. So this one here is a fan favorite of mine. It's something I love doing. It's a skip bounce. It looks so nice having this bounce return of light. So same scenario of what we got going on here. The 600, I'm just bouncing it off of the table because that's really taking what is motivated by this light and just bouncing off of the table and returning up at me. And on the wide shot, I just kept it straight off of the table. You can actually see the hot light on the table, but it almost looks like just this practical source is bouncing off of that and returning back at me. But then something like what I would do is, say after we just got the master, the wide, we move into it like this tight, I'll beauty it up a little bit more. I'm gonna take some muzz and just throw it on the table as an example to show. But just bouncing light, this spotlight is something that is so versatile to me, and I've really gotten my kit all the time because it's something that I can do so many different things with, so many different scenes with, as you've seen in this video. And of course, just to polish it off a little bit more, we got a little moonlight here. That's an infinity bar 4-foot. I just put it behind me as like a little edge. So just quick and scrappy. Again, we're just giving an example. I'm just gonna put muzz here, and now that just muzz is gonna be the bounce source. So muzz is just gonna soften the quality up just a little bit more, make it look a little less harsh and reflective. So when I move in on my close-up, just looks oh so beautifully as we bounce the light into it. So if this video had every single use of the way to use a spotlight to bounce and do all of that with lights, it would be forever long. So it's more so of a foundation to take and to apply to your own work, whether it's your key lights, your edge lights, bounce lights, fill lights, bounce, soft key, whatever lights, I don't know, any kind of lighting that you want to do. Using something like a Leko or a Spotlight is something that I can't stress enough, the most versatile thing that I picked up. I've seen a lot of excellent DPs do it in the past. I'm not the first to reinvent the wheel on this one, but it's just something that I truly, it's a quick way to either throw light into the ceiling and get ambience or really polish off the light of your scene. So I'm sure I missed some. I know I did. As a matter of fact, there's so many different uses for it. So tell me what and if in the comments I missed of a way to use a spotlight to shape your light even better, because we all want to hear it. But that's all I got for you guys. So I love you. You're amazing. And I will see you in the next video.